What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Lightyear. So here we are with the brand new Disney and Pixar film directed by Angus MacLane, who co-directed films like Finding Dory, and this film stars people like Chris Evans as our titular character of Buzz Lightyear. We also have Keke Palmer, Peter Son, Taika Waititi, and many others. You also have a fantastic score in this film, once again by the brilliant Michael Giacchino, who seems like he's everywhere these days. And the premise of this movie is essentially, this is the movie that Andy saw back in 1995 that inspired him to want to get his own Buzz Lightyear toy, leading us into the Toy Story films. So I was hoping to get this review up a lot sooner, but I saw the movie earlier around like 3 p.m. my time, and then as soon as it was over, I had to rush over to my tattoo appointment, which is where I've been for the last little bit. Just got a new tattoo for the anime One Piece, a little bit more of a realistic take on the straw hat symbol, which was really awesome. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Lightyear. And when I first found out that this movie was being made and that the fact that Chris Evans was going to be Buzz Lightyear, I was kind of taken aback because I haven't covered them here on the channel yet, but Toy Story is one of my favorite franchises of all time. It was just one of those franchises that came out as I was a kid over the course of my life, leading up to the third one when I was already getting older, that has always kind of touched a different part of my life and touched my heart in a different way. And they've always been rich with messages and you know, story about family and friends and what it means to be there for others and what it is to be yourself. There's so many layered messages when it comes to the Toy Story films. So yeah, you know, I was kind of bothered by the idea that we'd be getting a full Buzz Lightyear film that looked like it was going to be phenomenally animated, but it was not going to have Tim Allen in the role. Then they ended up explaining that this is supposed to be in-universe, the film that Andy actually saw back in 1995, and that this was what inspired those toys to be made. And so on that front, I kind of thought to myself, okay, that kind of makes sense, because growing up, and I'm sure still today, there are plenty of times where I would buy a toy for some hero, and sometimes it'd clip certain audio clips from the movie onto the toy, but a lot of times it was, you know, some different person who was voicing it, or kind of like where you play a video game version of a movie, you have the same character, but you'd have somebody else doing the voice of the iconic character or the big actor in the movie. So I was able to kind of, you know, separate my mind from the Toy Story films and go into this looking at it like a movie within the universe of Toy Story. And on that level, I found it to be a pretty cool idea. I really enjoyed that they even came up with this concept to do this, but I won't lie, I do kind of feel like I wanted this to have Tim Allen still in it, even after having seen it. And I'm happy to say I enjoyed the film. I had a good time with it. I think it's definitely one of the best animated in terms of all of the Disney Pixar films. Pixar has given us some phenomenal films in terms of animation, different styles, different, you know, tones, different color, you know, all that kind of stuff. And this one felt the most realistic, I feel, out of the bunch, while also still retaining that cartoony vibe that you come to expect from any animated film, specifically Disney and Pixar. And I think it did a really great job of being, you know, something that kind of elevates the legacy of Buzz Lightyear. I thought that Chris Evans did a phenomenal job of, you know, taking what was established before with Tim Allen and not, you know, copying it, but making it his own while also staying true to who this character is in terms of his cadence and the various ways that he would, you know, go about saying something or doing something. And I like that this version of Buzz Lightyear is a little bit more serious, whereas the toy is a little bit more goofy. And so it kind of allows you to separate between this Buzz Lightyear and that Buzz Lightyear. So how is this movie overall? Yeah, I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. I found it to be beautifully animated, like I mentioned before. It's got a great score from Michael Giacchino, who really genuinely at this point feels like he's scoring every other movie that I'm reviewing here on the channel. I mean, when I think of Michael Giacchino, I go back all the way to when I was binging Lost, early in the days when Lost was like brand new. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was like some of the earliest stuff that I started to see and kind of know who Michael Giacchino is. But since then, I mean, the dude literally, I mean, just look up this guy online. Like, look at his IMDb filmography for the things that he's composed for. I mean, everything from a silly kids movie to some of the biggest blockbusters that have ever come out in the entire world. You know, he's worked on the Marvel franchise and Star Wars and just so many others. I constantly am saying his name here on the channel, and I'm constantly seeing his name when I'm writing down notes. And it's so crazy. I recently went to go see Jurassic World Dominion, and you know, even though I have mixed feelings on that movie in some way, Yeah, one of the things that I definitely knew while I was watching it was this score sounds like Michael Giacchino, and well, it was, and it's just crazy. This dude is literally anywhere. This dude is everywhere and anywhere, so definitely gotta praise the score for this, gotta praise the animation as I mentioned before, and getting into the story of this, what I will say is, I enjoyed the story. I had a good time with it. I saw some reviews early from some people saying that maybe this is like one of the best Pixar films or one of the better ones, and I can't agree with that. I found it to be an enjoyable, fun ride. I really did enjoy seeing this adventure that Buzz Lightyear would go on, but by no stretch of the imagination for me is this top-tier Pixar in terms of its narrative. Its narrative, for the most part, is pretty straightforward. It has that emotion that you come to expect, likable characters, some good humor throughout, and a lot of, fun gags and a lot of fun, in the case of this one, some fun action. On a sci-fi action fantasy base, I thought that this movie was really cool to watch. I really enjoy sci-fi and fantasy. I've talked about that many times here, so I was definitely the core audience for this kind of movie, a Toy Story fan who loves sci-fi. So, a sci-fi fantasy epic with Buzz Lightyear at the center sounds awesome, and in so many ways it was. I can genuinely say this isn't a movie I really have very many negatives with, but I can also say that the story, for the most part, was, a little bit predictable at times and just an enjoyable watch. It wasn't something that ever blew my mind. It wasn't something that ever felt like it was really taking things in a brand new direction. And that's in no way, shape, or form to say that it was bad or that it was lackluster or that I was underwhelmed. I just enjoyed myself. I got some popcorn, got a large drink, sat down, had a good time, and I could totally see this being something that kids are gonna enjoy. I saw it in a, not fully packed theater, but there was a decent amount of people in there, and there was people applauding at certain points. There was big laughs at times, and when the movie ended, people, did applaud all around. So yeah, I really enjoyed the film. It seemed like people really enjoyed it themselves too, but again, compared to other Pixar scripts, it's not like top-notch writing. It's not one of those Pixar movies that's gonna really rip at your core of your heart. There's definitely elements of this film that definitely tugged on the heartstrings for sure. You gotta expect at least some of that from Pixar. But, overall, it was a bit of more of a predictable story as it started to play on, and it just kind of felt like you were watching a cool, fun action blockbuster film that has Buzz Lightyear at the center. You can kind of just snack on some popcorn, drink some soda, and kind of just turn your mind off for almost 2 hours, rather than this being one of the more traditional Pixar films that maybe is really pushing the envelope in terms of its narrative. But again, I think the animation here is definitely some of the best we've ever gotten from Pixar. It's just not as colorful and vibrant as we typically would see, but it's definitely some of the most grounded and realistic looking while also retaining that cartoony vibe. As usual, I'm bouncing all over the place, but yeah, I really enjoyed the film. I just want to make it known that I think for me, when it comes to the story here, cute, fun, action-packed story that has a lot of heart, a lot of charm, but it wasn't necessarily something that really was some of the top-tier Pixar writing that we've seen before. For anybody who doesn't know what the premise of this movie is all about, we have Buzz Lightyear accidentally crash landing a huge ship that has a bunch of people on it, a whole crew of people on it, and he takes it upon himself to try to find a way to fix their hyperspeed situation so that they can get off of this planet. Except as he begins to, do these different tests to try to make hyperspeed a thing, he ends up actually jumping into the future, and at some point ends up jumping far into the future, kind of having lost everybody and everything that he was holding on to in the past. And every time he comes back and gets back into the normal day a couple of years into the future, something has changed, something is different, and he's a little bit more detached from the world that he was once part of as the movie progresses. And as time goes on, he ends up meeting a new set of characters who end up helping him on this adventure to try to find a way off of this world. And over the course of the film, he has to kind of learn something new about himself, and he starts to learn some more things about his past and his future. I won't say much more about the story on that front, but yeah, overall, it's a cool time travel, big blockbuster action movie with Buzz Lightyear at the center, with a fairly predictable story, but still enjoyable in my opinion. So that's gonna be my thoughts on Lightyear. A big thanks to you guys for watching. Definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. Did you like this movie? Did you not like this movie? Again, I really wish that Tim Allen had been Buzz Lightyear in this film, just because of my absolute adoration for his iteration of the character. But I will say, I think Chris Evans did a really good job of taking what Tim Allen had already done and bringing something new to it, while also not reinventing the wheel and very much keeping it feeling like Buzz Lightyear. again, a good score, beautiful animation, fun action, an enjoyable ride, and you know, I just had a good time with it at the movies. That's the biggest thing I can say. Not my favorite movie of the year, but by no means one of my least favorites of the year. Also, a really good movie that I definitely think kids are going to enjoy as well. But I will say my biggest negative, I know I said I don't really have a ton. My biggest negative is probably the side characters. Some of the side characters are just kind of dumb in this movie, and a lot of the issues that end up happening in this movie for Buzz and our other characters kind of comes from some of their poor decision making. So that can be a little bit frustrating at times, kind of leading into some of the predictable elements that would come later on. So yeah, that's all I'll say on the narrative. But overall, again, enjoyed the film. Can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. Comment your thoughts down below. Subscribe for more videos. Hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.